Welcome back into the Rounding Third podcast. I'm Nick. We got Harrison and Sean with us again tonight. How we doing, fellas?
Good boys.
Good.
How we doing?
What's up, fellas?
Not
Playoffs are
bad.
here.
All right. Right? Man, it's going to be awesome. So we have a lot to cover tonight, so we're going to jump right in. But first, make sure you follow and like us on Facebook. You can also subscribe on YouTube. You can also listen on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. All right. So, yeah, as Sean said, playoffs are here. So we're going to go over the playoff picture, our predictions, see how that goes. So there was a little bit of shakeup because the Rangers didn't end up winning the West. If you saw that viral clip by Alex Bregman, I mean, that was pretty badass. I don't know if you guys saw that, but it was pretty cool. Yeah. He said something to the fact where it was like people were saying what happens when the Astros won't win the division. I guess we'll never know.
I guess we'll never know.
The champagne bottles, like, so sick.
Well played. Well played.
Yeah, absolutely. So first round matchups, we got Blue Jays against the Twins. So we'll just stay right there for right now. Blue Jays and Twins. Who comes out of that wild card series? Do the Twins get their first playoff win in, I don't know, 55 years?
Sure. I really want them to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
do
want
the
them
Twins
to.
win a game? Yes. Do they win the series? Probably not.
So you're leaning Blue Jays there?
I'll take the Blue Jays in that one.
Yeah, probably. I mean, the Blue Jays were sneaky. They won 89 games.
Yeah.
You know, the Twins 87, the Toronto won 89, and I feel like we talked about the Twins this year a whole lot more than we talked about Toronto. There was just something about Toronto early on. I remember, we said they were frustrating to watch earlier in the year because they were just underperforming, but they just kind of stuck with it and they put 90 wins on the board. So I think they're a better team than like nationally they're getting credit for, getting talked about.
Agreed.
I'm not going to pretend to know how they did against each other. I don't know how easy that would be for you to look up, Nick, but I would lean towards Toronto if I had to like put money on it, but I'm fully pulling for Minnesota.
Yeah, I feel they're 3-3.
Okay, so all right.
So they're 3-3.
Pretty even.
So I said it last week. It felt like the Blue Jays have won a quiet 90 games. Like you just didn't really, like you said, like haven't heard much from them, about them, other than like the Bo Bichette injury in the middle of the year there for a little bit. You heard about that, but like that was really, and the Alec Manoah stuff, like Harrison mentioned last week. That was really the only two news stories to really come out of Toronto this year. Like I don't.
Right, they were negative stories.
Yeah, I don't remember anything great about them, but I'm going to take the Twins in this one.
Love it.
I'm going to go against you guys and just say the Twins can sneak by the Blue Jays. I'm still not sold on the Blue Jays, just for the simple fact that they still haven't proven it with this young core yet. Do they have the talent to go far? Sure. But I'm just, for the heck of it, I'm going to take the Twins. So,
I mean, I think
it's definitely a lineup though that you don't like. If you're playing against them, if your team, you just hope they don't get hot at the right time.
Yeah,
because they could most definitely just hit their way through, especially a short 5-game series or 3-game series, and then into a 5-game series. I mean, they could hit their way through that real quick.
Yeah.
So you just, if you're the Twins, you just hope that it doesn't all come together now in a quick 3 games, because they could win the first 2 in the blink of an eye and it's over.
Yeah. Agree.
Yeah, I think the Twins probably should be favorite, or should be the favorite for this series because they are at home. They play really well at home. The Blue Jays are actually also very good on the road, better on the road than at home. And I think ultimately it's going to come down to if Toronto hits like they can, this will not be that close a series. If the Toronto bats don't show up like they should, then I think the Twins run away with it.
Yeah.
I mean, they're both
the Blue Jays live and die by that offense. If they're hitting well, they're doing well. If they're not, they're not.
Yeah, I mean, I think it shows you here. I mean, Toronto shows on the season they were 7 games under 500 against teams better than 500. And Minnesota was 37 and 36. So Minnesota seems to play better. against better competition. Now that doesn't always correlate, but with the balanced schedule, I mean, I think that you can probably take that for what it is.
Yeah.
So I still think I would lean Toronto if I had to put money on it, but I'm pulling hardcore for Minnesota.
Fair. All right. Next series, wild card series, is the Rangers against the Rays. This is going to be the Rangers are 4-2 in the season series. So despite the Rays having the second best record, the Rangers did outlast them there. I'm pulling hard for Texas. I think they deserve to go on. I think they have the more talented team, but the Rays are the Rays, man. I mean, they've been solid all year. They really haven't had a skid. And losing McClanahan for the Rays, I think is a big loss for the Rays in this playoff format for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Rays have proven it year over year too. Like especially under Kevin Cash, like they know how to win postseason series.
Yeah.
Right. Like they rarely, when they don't have that first round bye, they rarely get bounced in the first. I mean, they always, when they make it in, they tend to make kind of deep runs. Texas has been my team all year, so I'm not going away from that. So give me Texas give me Texas in the first two. Don't even make it interesting.
Yeah. What about you, Harrison? What's your thoughts?
I really want Texas to win. I'd love to see Texas advance. I feel like they're limping into the playoffs a little bit. Not that the Rays are coming in unscathed, but in a short series, I'm gonna take Tampa, but I would really love to see Texas win.
Yeah. All right, let's move over to my D-backs against the Brewers.
It's an interesting series.
It is, and the D-backs actually own the season series there. They're also 4-2. So I honestly, I like this road for the Diamondbacks. If they're going to make a deep run, this is the position they needed to be in. To play the Brewers, I think they have a better chance against the Dodgers than they do the Braves. Just because they've played them, they know them. I think that's their better shot. I'm not saying they're going to get past LA, but I think the Arizona Diamondbacks could get by the Milwaukee Brewers. Because again, the Brewers in the playoffs can't get out of the first round. They just can't.
Yeah, and they have some heartbreaking losses too.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, I'll go Arizona with that, 100%. I mean, it's a team they're ahead of where they're supposed to be. They weren't supposed to make the postseason this year.
Yep.
Why not? Same with Miami. I know we haven't got to the Miami one yet, but same with Miami. They're not supposed to be there.
No.
Go for it. Give
nothing
me
to lose. Yeah.
Give me Arizona. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be rooting hard for Arizona. I think Milwaukee's a better team. Milwaukee should win this series, but I don't think Arizona cares. And I think they're gonna come in and play their asses off, and I'll take Arizona.
Yeah.
Well, it's tough. I mean, Arizona, Corbin Burns in the first game against them going, right? So if you want a chance at upsetting the Brewers in Milwaukee and getting past the first round, you got to win game one.
Yeah.
Yes.
You got to beat Corbin Burns in game one. So it's that one's tomorrow, I think, right?
Yeah, I think
that one.
I believe so. I had the schedule
Tuesday at 7:00.
Yeah.
You got to win. You got to win tomorrow. You got to win game one. If you lose game one, I think it's an uphill battle to win two in a row after that. I don't think they can do that. But if you win game one and you have a game to play with, all on board.
Yeah, and you've got Woodruff, who's going to miss the series. So it's really it's going to lie heavily on Corbin Burns to win game one. If the Brewers win game one, I think they close it out. If the D-backs win game one, I don't think the Brewers have somebody to come back with to close it to get them back.
See, I think the Diamondbacks, if these two guys are on, I think the Diamondbacks could have the series with Merrill Kelly and Zach Gallen. If they come out and pitch their games like they have been all year, I think they'll be all right.
Who's this? I don't know how to pronounce this guy in game one. Fat? How do you pronounce that?
Oh, Brandon Pfaadt.
Pfaadt? Yeah, he's going game one against Burns.
Okay. And he's been dealing lately too. So I think the Diamondbacks will be in all right shape. And like I said, it's not so much like, yes, I'm biased because I've watched the Diamondbacks all year, but I don't think it's more on the fact that the Brewers can't get out of the first round is what I'm basing that on.
They have a history. Yes, that is for sure.
Yeah. Second wild card matchup in the NL is the Marlins against the Phils. Again, I'm rooting for the lower seed. I'm going for the Marlins. They've been playing well even down the stretch. They won the games they had to win to knock the Cubs out. The Cubs played horrendous baseball down the stretch. They lost a couple of tough ones. Seiya Suzuki losing that ball in the lights or just completely whiffing that ball against the Braves.
That was brutal.
That's a season killer right there.
You had the lead and everything too. You can't.
Bottom of the eighth
fumble
inning.
That play.
Bottom of the eighth inning, 2 outs, and you just whiff a fly ball.
Brutal.
Yeah, it was bad. So yeah, Marlins, Phillies. Who do you guys got? I'll listen to your takes before I make my pick.
Well, Marlins did win the season series 7-6.
Yeah.
And again, it's a team that, similar to Arizona, they're not supposed to be there.
Right.
This is a team that's got nothing to lose. Philadelphia is going to have a little bit of pressure. Obviously, the Braves winning the division. I don't think anyone expected the Phillies, but they went to the World Series last year, for Christ's sake.
Yep.
This is a team that has the expectation that, hey, you guys got to get back there. You got to get back there and finish the job. There's a lot riding pressure-wise on Philly, where it's there's absolutely none on Miami whatsoever.
Yeah, I agree.
Whatsoever. They won the games they had to win, but even down the stretch, they weren't supposed to be there because the Cubs were supposed to do it.
Right.
And so there's teams like that can be scary. And so I want chaos. Just cause chaos.
Yep. I'm with you too. I feel like, Kyle Schwarber always shows up in the playoffs. That's always Bryce Harper is always there in the big moment. I want the Marlins, but I think the Phillies will take it ultimately. It's just
I'm going to root for the Marlins, but I have no expectation that they win that series.
Yeah,
same. So Astros get a bye. They get the winner of Toronto and the Twins. I think Houston rolls through whoever shows up there, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I think it's Houston, Baltimore in the ALCS.
That's who I would pick.
Yeah, I do too. I do think Texas is an outside shot just because the team has hit all year. And even when they've gone through their skids and slides, when the pitching hasn't shown up, they can hit. And, when you get a team that, like we've said, they get hot at the right time. You can win 2 games in the blink of an eye just with a couple of huge hits with guys on base. Texas can certainly do that. So I wouldn't totally write Texas out. I think there are 3 teams that can come out of the American League, though. I think it's Houston, Baltimore, and Texas. I don't really think anyone else. I don't think Tampa can come out. I don't think Toronto or Minnesota can come out. So I think it's those 3 teams that you're going to be looking at, one of those 3 representing the American League.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah, somebody's gonna have to get crazy hot for a few weeks to take one of those 3 out and have it be somebody else.
Yeah. NL, so Dodgers and Braves get the byes. They're the 2 best teams in the NL. I also see that being the NLDS, but
head and shoulders.
Yeah, I don't think the Phillies get past the Braves this time if they get there. I would love the Diamondbacks to get by the Dodgers, but again, I don't think it's going to happen. But I'm going with the front runners there. I think it's the Braves and the Dodgers there too.
Yeah, I do too.
Same here.
All
right. So what's our World Series matchup then?
Braves, Orioles.
Ooh. Dodgers and Rangers.
Dodgers, Rangers.
That'd be a good one too.
All right. I'm going to go completely against the grain here and go Diamondbacks, Orioles.
I was waiting for D-backs, Twins.
So was I.
No, I love Baltimore's story. I think it's they won 79 games last year and they've won 100.
If you
there's no way.
Baseball has been quietly getting quite a lot of ownership, viewership lately. If you get yourself a Diamondbacks Twins World Series, no one would watch them.
You're 1,000%.
That would undo all of the progress baseball has made about bringing fans back to the game.
We'd be the only 3 people watching it.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll be honest with you. I don't know if I would watch all. If that went 7, I would watch Game 7. I don't even know if I would watch all those games.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, realistically, I think it's going to be Orioles Braves.
Yeah, Orioles Braves.
So,
Orioles Braves would be a good one. I would love to see Baltimore go. I don't know.
No more Houston.
You're relying a lot on these. You're relying a lot on these young kids, man.
yeah, you are.
Like a lot, and they've done it all year. But like, the playoffs are a different beast.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're just a different beast. Every pitch is amplified. Every call against you, every ground ball, like everything. And I'm not saying they can't do it. I'm just saying, like, when you're going up against a team like Houston that's done it a billion times, like, they're not phased.
No.
It's just another day for them.
I mean, Yordan Alvarez himself has a silly amount of games, and the dude's 23.
Right.
I mean,
so it's just such an uphill battle.
Yeah.
Which certainly goes against my Texas argument because they really don't have any guys with any experience either. But I'm just biased. I've been riding them since like May, so I'm not giving up now. Yeah. It's October. They've gotten me this far, so I'm staying with them.
But Texas does have some veteran leaders on that team that have been there. Baltimore really doesn't. It is all young guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or veterans that have never been there, like Cedric Mullins
Right.
So, yeah. I mean, realistically, I think it's going to be Orioles Braves for me, but I would love to see my D-backs in there just because I've been watching them since day one. So I think it's been awesome.
But you have lost a lot of sleep watching them.
I really have. But, I mean, I don't go to bed till 11:30 at night anyway. So with these quick games, it's actually helping out a lot. So, all right. So on to more depressing news and sad news. Baseball lost 2 legends this week. Tim Wakefield was an absolute heartbreaker for Red Sox Nation, for baseball in general. What this guy accomplished on the field, off the field, with all his Jimmy Fund and his own organizations and all of that stuff. This guy was what I strived to be and dreamt to be growing up as a baseball player. Like, I always wanted to be on that big stage, make a huge impact in kids' lives and people's lives. And this guy lived the dream and is just the ultimate professional. It was just heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking. But George Kirby throws that absolute nasty knuckler on that tribute.
It was so good too.
It was a nasty pitch with tons of movement, but it was really cool. But
he should mix that bad boy in, right?
But man, I didn't realize that Tim Wakefield won 200 games.
He did.
I mean,
yeah, the only he's third all time in wins in Red Sox history.
Yeah.
Behind Cy Young and Roger Clemens.
More wins than Pedro.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
There was a stretch in my childhood where, like, I'd go to a Red Sox game and I'm like, let me guess, Wakefield's pitching. I saw Wakefield.
Me too, man.
The first 6 games of my Red Sox viewing career, Wakefield was on the mound every single time. So,
and if Tim Wakefield got run support, he would have won 400 games. I swear to God, that guy lost more games when he left in the 7th inning down like 2-1.
Yeah.
Wake was one of those guys too, and I have no idea. Like, I probably shouldn't say this because I have no idea if it's true. I feel like this guy was never on the DL. Like, he never got hurt. Like, it was just if he was in the rotation, he was just penciled every 5 days. He never missed starts.
Yeah.
Remember when he was in the bullpen for a little while? The dude he did everything.
Since his passing, the people have been coming out telling, and you've never heard a bad story, a bad word about him.
No.
And all these stories of former teammates and former beat writers that were covering the team at the time when he was on, it was just like story after story after story about how this guy was like the consummate teammate, just the best teammate. He would go out there on short rest. He would go out there and eat innings when a bullpen was bad or banged up or tired. He'd take it all.
Yeah.
He'd take it all. I got to pull up this story that I saw. I should have had it bookmarked here.
Dude, 200 wins, 180 losses. He's a 500 pitcher, but that's what a knuckleballer is. It's either on or it's off. But like you said, Sean, 3,226 and a third innings pitched.
Yeah. The guy just never missed. Never missed starts. It was incredible.
No.
Okay, so Tony Maserati. So this was like 8:00 this morning. Put out. He said it was the consummate Wakefield game. It was June 10th, 1996. So it was his second year in Boston. They were playing the White Sox, and he got shellacked. So it says the Red Sox pitching staff was depleted. Kevin Kennedy asked Wakefield to take the bullet. He went out and threw a complete game, 158 pitches, and took a beating. Took an absolute beating, 158 pitches. But they let everybody rest. The bullpen rested. They went on a 6-game, they won 4 straight, and then they won 5 out of 6 that started the next day.
Yeah.
Like him taking that bullet and letting them recharge, and then they go on a little winning streak there.
And
like that's Wakefield.
Yeah, and
that was Wakefield.
And to piggyback on that, I just saw a video clip because I can't remember who put it together. It was either Tom Caron, I think he narrated it, but he took himself off the playoff roster that year.
In 07
to get somebody that was, like he knew, like who in their right mind does that unless you are the ultimate team player. You are there for the guys. I mean, there is not a lot of athletes that would do that. And for him to do that, I mean, it's special. You don't see that, but it was just absolute heartbreaking loss. But I mean, he'll be forever in everyone's mind around baseball. I mean, not just Red Sox Nation, but everybody remembers Tim Wakefield as the last great knuckleballer.
Oh, for sure.
Well, and what's too bad is how much of a surprise it was too. Like it would have been awesome to at least give the guy, honor him on the field at Fenway Park when he would have been able to enjoy it. It's a shame that it all happened so fast and was so.
But I don't think he wanted that, though.
But
and I think that's what's so disgusting. But that's so disgusting about how the way the thing played out.
Yeah.
And it's like you almost don't even want to mention Curt Schilling's name, but it's like just such scumbaggery assholeness from him.
1,000%.
You know what I mean? Like the last few days of this man's life, like he didn't want to be in the spotlight. He didn't want people to know.
Right.
And then this asshole does it because he's trying to pump ratings for his podcast or whatever the hell. Like that's so
disgusting.
I don't even have the word. Like that is so disgusting.
Yeah.
Like when I found out yesterday morning, I mean, it was yesterday when he passed, like I was like, it hit me harder than I expected it to. Like when it was broken that he was sick, and it's like, oh, it sucks. Tim Wakefield, he's so young. Like that's terrible. And then it happened, and then when I saw it, and then I just couldn't get it out of my brain.
Yeah.
It hit me harder than I thought, and then I kept going back to God, he's such an asshole.
Yeah.
Curt Schilling, not Tim Wakefield. That's such an asshole thing to do.
It's just not his story to share. As someone that went through a life-altering surgery with my kidney failures and all of that stuff, I would hate for somebody else to tell my story before I got the chance to tell. Like, it's my story to tell. Why is it coming out of your mouth? Like, there's
if you and I mean, I would think we would be close enough. But if you shared that with me and asked me not to share it with somebody, and then I went on the radio waves and shared, what? How does he sleep at night? I wouldn't be able to sleep with myself. How do you do that?
Absolutely disgusting.
Schilling sleeps just fine.
Which is such a problem. I know he does, and that's such a problem. But that was the worst part of the whole thing. Well, no, I mean, obviously the worst part is Tim Wakefield passed away. But the way that the whole thing played out, it was just so bad.
Yeah. But
it's a shame because I know Wakefield's a private guy, didn't want that, but man, the fans would have loved to have shown him some love one more time because he is such an icon and legend of Boston sports.
Yeah. But I mean, like I said, I can't say enough good things about what this guy meant to me as a baseball fan on and off the field. I mean, just incredible guy. I mean, he closed games. If the manager was like, hey, dude, we need you to close games, go in. And he's like, all I got is a 65-mile-an-hour knuckleball. He's like, good, you're in.
Well, there was one season he was the closer for half the year.
Right. He did it all.
They needed an arm.
Dude, that game was making its way around that 2004 Game 5 when it went 13 innings.
Yeah.
And he was just, I mean, Veritek was just pissing down his leg trying to catch that knuckleball.
So bad.
He couldn't do it. He had 4 pass balls in one inning. He just couldn't catch it.
And then Marabelli comes out of the center field gate. Was it the next week?
Dude, he threw the nastiest knuckleball to Ruben Sierra to get out of that inning.
Yeah. Man.
Just so gross.
I will I will still never forget the police escort of Mirabelli from the airport to Fenway Park
Yeah.
when they brought him back. If there's one player who owes his whole career to Tim Wakefield, it's Doug Mirabelli.
For sure.
And Aaron Boone.
And Aaron Boone, yes.
We'll get to him later. But yeah, I mean, it's a shame. It's like you said, Sean, it's shocking how it all kind of just spilled out in about 2 days. No need for it. But as a Red Sox fan, diehard Red Sox fan, just thanks Wake for the memories, because that was, I mean,
for sure,
absolute incredible career to watch and an honor to watch him play. So,
and still to this day, when I play catch with anybody, the first thing I do, I put that knuckleball grip on it and try to throw it like Timmy.
Absolutely, with more spin than my fastball has, but that's
damn
a different story. But so still kind of staying on that same wavelength. Unfortunately, baseball lost another legend this week. They lost Brooks Robinson on Tuesday. I think the most iconic picture for me with Brooks Robinson is him standing behind all his Golden Glove statues. What is it like? I mean, it's absolutely
insane.
ridiculous.
It's a bazillion of those things.
16
gloves. Right? Yeah, 16. Yeah.
Disgusting, man. I mean,
the gold standard.
I've said it before. Like, I wish I was alive to see this guy play. I mean, from what
the clips don't do it justice.
No, and from what I've heard is like he is Nolan Arenado-esque. Like Nolan Arenado is probably the closest comparison we have, but even then they say that like Brooks Robinson, like he doesn't hold, anything to what Brooks Robinson was.
Well, they said with Brooks he did everything with ease, like
right.
He wasn't doing anything. It didn't look hard. He was on top of everything, making the throw, making the play.
Yeah. So, I mean, just tough week for baseball on that aspect, but we will turn the page from that and get on to what was our question last week was who was the first managers that we were going to see fired?
All of them.
Well, yeah, apparently we've got 3. So Gabe Kapler fired by the Giants. My initial reaction was, why? What?
As soon as that happened, and the 3 of us were texting, I think that's a huge play for them. I think they're going to tell Shohei he can pick his manager. Like, I think that's listen, we've said it. They tried to spend last offseason. It just didn't work out the way that they wanted it and hoped it would. I think they're going to be fully in on it this year. And I think that's just kind of maybe something they're going to try to pad it with. I don't know. It's just because other than that, like to me, it seems like a bit of a baffling decision. Like they were in kind of like rebuild mode and he had them like playing pretty competitive baseball kind of right up to the end there. So it wasn't a Met situation where it was like they were expected to be World Series favorites and they 20 games under 500.
Right.
So I that's the only thing I can really think that to me makes just a semblance of sense. So I don't know.
Yeah, they consistently gave that guy very little, and he won with it anyways. Like, I struggle to understand that.
2 years ago, he won 100-something games.
Yeah, and name a player from that roster.
Brandon
I mean,
Crawford.
it was this ragtag bunch of players.
Yeah,
you're right. I just crazy. So there is rumblings that if Bob Melvin decides to leave San Diego, that he'll end up in San Fran. So we'll wait to see if that is going to happen or not. Again, we don't know what's going to happen in San Diego because they're a freaking mess. Supposedly.
So if he decides to leave San Diego, are we just absolving Bob Melvin of this year for San Diego? Then we're just saying none of it is like on
Mulligan.
him?
He gets a breakfast ball.
Which I mean, I guess maybe, but I don't know. I think it's not like they had a.
If the next manager goes in there wins 100 games, then I think that he looks like a fool. If the next manager has the same struggle, then I think you can wipe the slate clean.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's not like they're like the Baltimore Ravens and like their best players are always hurt.
It's fair.
Yeah, Juan Soto played all 162.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean he's a good manager. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I think he would do well there, but it just seems weird that we're just obviously automatically writing him in. Oh well, like let's just send him to San Diego. I mean, send him to San Francisco. It's like, well, he didn't exactly set the world on fire with the Padres this year either when he was expected to.
Right. No, it's a fair point. I don't know.
Well, and there's an old A's connection, I believe, in the front office, too. That's why people are believing that he'd make that move.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the Buck Showalter is just not coming back for the Mets. I don't think he was fired. I think he was like, "Thanks, guys. I'm good. I'm gonna go enjoy my retirement."
Yeah.
I don't know. He seemed pretty emotional in his press conference.
But do you think it's because he knows he's hanging it up for good, or
Maybe. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know if I'm ready to say that it wasn't a
okay?
Mets decision to say, hey, let's just agree we're going in a different direction. And I know we're splitting hairs here, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not entirely sure the Mets were like, hey, we want you to come back. And he was like, yeah, I don't want to come back.
No, I got you. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. They might have just worded it that way, so to save face. Maybe.
But what do I know?
Right.
At the same time, I could see Buck Showalter saying, if you guys want to rebuild, I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the last one that just happened today, I mean, we kind of knew this one was coming, but Phil Nevin is done with the Angels. That organization is the butt end of our jokes week after week. I mean, they are just a joke over there. We never know what's going to happen. And
I think, to me, though, I think that almost lends more credence to, I think the Angels are trying to keep up with San Francisco on that front. You know what I mean? To be like, hey, Shohei, if you stay, we'll let you pick your manager.
Right.
Like, almost like, oh, shit, like, we got to do, like, if other teams are doing this, like, we got to offer that too.
Yeah.
Again, I have no idea. This is all just me kind of just trying to read the tea leaves here. Like, I don't certainly know anything,
Right.
but it just, as much of a dumpster fire as that organization is, I don't think much of it was Phil Nevin's fault, and I'm not sure who you can bring in that's just automatically going to make them 20 games
Joe
better.
Madden. Oh, wait, they tried that. Never mind.
With the rally mohawk and all that nonsense, he gets fired on that day. That was freaking hilarious. So, to me, that screams like, Shohei, you get, who do you want?
Yeah.
If you stay, you can pick.
Yeah. I've honestly never thought about it that way, but I mean, it makes sense. Like, you want to make that player as happy as possible if you're going to offer him,
especially if you're going to pay that kind of money.
Right.
The other angle to that too could be is if you re-sign Shohei, that team's ready to win now. If you don't re-sign Shohei, you're going deep into a rebuild. Now you're going to go find a younger manager that's going to come in and be part of that rebuild. So part of it also gets into kind of organizational direction. But keep in mind too,
with San Francisco.
No, I'm saying with Anaheim.
But if you're the Angels and you re-sign Shohei, you're in the same spot you're in now.
Well, no, because if you re-sign Shohei, you're going to make a much harder push in free agency to try to build out a team. If you don't get Shohei, I'd say forget it.
Right.
Bring up the kids. Let's start from scratch.
I'm sitting here thinking though, if they back up the Brinks truck to Shohei, they're not going to have any money left for any other free agent.
Well, that is another angle that could make that challenging. But the other thing too was Phil Nevin got put in that spot when Madden got let go. They didn't go interview. They didn't go out and hire somebody. They just kind of plugged him in. I don't know if he was ever the manager they wanted. He was just kind of there. Yeah. So now they can go back out in the marketplace and try to find a manager. But I do think the Shohei decision looms large in what direction they go. He comes back. They need a more experienced manager who can work with a player like that. If he doesn't, it's a younger manager. It's going to be a massive rebuild, and you're going to go a different direction.
Yeah, it's fair. All right, we're going to move on to fifth inning with some more like kind of highlights of the season, if you will. Ronald Acuna gets 40-70. I mean,
whatever.
Crazy.
Freak.
Yeah, freak, absolute freak.
That's okay, I guess.
Yeah. And in the midst of that, the Braves tied the single season home run record as a team with the Twins when they did it a few years ago. So they didn't break it. We thought they were on record pace to do so, but
they're on pace at one point at like 309.
Yeah. So they tied that mark.
Freaking Matt Olson slacked off.
With 55 dingers. Yeah. It slacked off. But they did set an MLB mark in record with a 501 team slugging percentage. That is silly.
It really is.
Yeah, they just live on doubles and home runs.
Basically,
what they hit. They just hit doubles and home runs.
Yep.
Nuts.
That's a lot of extra base hits.
Crazy.
To pile up a stat like that.
And kind of on that wavelength, kind of not, but the season that no one's talking about is the season that Bobby Witt Jr. just put together for Kansas City. He hit 30-40. So he got 30 home runs, 40 stolen bags. He was one stolen base away from 50. So he ended the season with 49 steals. This kid's the real deal.
Oh yeah, I don't think we were doubting that as a group at all.
On a team that won 56 games.
Do we think at some point a team offers a package for Bobby Witt Jr. to pull him away from Kansas City?
I'm sure teams have already tried. Yeah. A guy that young, under control for that long, who is already this impactful and special, I'm sure teams have even tried already.
Yeah, the Royals would be insane to trade him. Like he's under club control. He's dirt cheap. You don't go to arbitration for at least another year. That's when you look at offers. But for now, you enjoy the benefit of a super cheap superstar.
And he's the only one that's putting butts in seats pretty much out of that.
Nobody
team.
that team would have won 35 games this past year, and nobody would have showed up.
Yeah, crazy. Luis Arraez is the first player to win the batting title in both leagues in consecutive seasons. He hit, what did he end up? 357, I think I saw, or 354. It was his final batting average.
350 something. Hang on.
I mean, absolutely insane. Like, yeah, he didn't get near the 400 mark, but I mean, we knew that was a tall task.
Yeah, he really slumped in the second half.
Yeah, but I mean,
354.
354. But to still end with a 354 average is pretty ridiculous in this day and age when.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
Contact isn't a thing anymore.
No.
But I mean, absolutely insane for him.
You had him at one end of the spectrum at 354 and Kyle Schwarber at the other end at 190? Is that where he finished?
Yeah, he had 354 home runs, but that's just about it.
I would love to see Luis Arraez start popping up again. With today's era of power pitching, where it's all about strikeouts and power and swing and miss. And it's almost like in any other sport, right? There's kind of like the curve in there's always, you're adapting to what the opposition's doing. I would love to see some guys now start to develop and be like, you know what? With all this power pitching and all these guys throwing pitches in the zone to swing and miss at, why don't we just get a few guys and sprinkle it up and down the lineup that can just put the ball in play? Now, I'm not expecting a bunch of people hitting 350 every year, but if you can just have a few people that are just not striking out, putting balls in play, we have the pitch clock. It's obviously more runners in motion. We're seeing a lot more stolen bases. You get more hit and runs. I mean, the action can start to come back pretty damn quick if you just get a few of these guys kind of in and around the league. I would love to see the game start to head back in that direction. I'm not saying we have to get rid of the Matt Olsons or the Kyle Schwarbers who just sit there and just hit bombs while they're hitting under 250. I'm not saying that, but let's just not have 300 of those guys.
Yeah.
Right. Let's start sprinkling in some Luis Arraezes. It just spices the game up. It brings it back to where it was when we were younger, which was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. There were only two players in baseball that qualified that batted under 200 this year. Kyle Schwarber was last at 197. Trent Grisham was just ahead of him at 198. Even our boy Max Muncy finished at 212.
Wow, he must have gotten
he must have had a 400 September.
Yeah. So Kyle Schwarber had the lowest batting average of any qualified hitter in baseball this year at 197.
Yeah.
With 47 and 104.
I was going to say he had almost 50 bombs.
Yeah. Crazy. All right, so the last week of the season here, a couple crazy news stories kind of popped up here. The Astros were in Seattle. Hector Neris is on the mound, and he strikes out J-Rod, and he gets all chippy and goes after J-Rod a little bit, saying something. The allegation was he said an anti-gay slur towards him, and it came out, I don't think that he actually said that, but that was the original report after the game. And there was an investigation and all that stuff, but the bench is cleared in Seattle. I mean, Hector Neris was fired up. I mean, it was a big spot in that game. But I mean, there was just kind of no reason for him to kind of go after J-Rod like that. But Hector Neris did put out a statement saying that him and J-Rod are friends, and it wasn't supposed to be he wasn't going after J-Rod in particular, but I mean, it just shows how intense those games were down the stretch there for Seattle and Houston. But
yeah, I mean, I didn't see it live, so I probably shouldn't comment too much on it, but I don't know, man. It goes both ways. Like, I mean, unless he did say that very specific thing, like that's over the line. But like, if he's just fired up, like,
right.
If batters and fans want to be able to do these bat flips and these celebrations, like these Euro steps around third base and all that, like it does go the other way too.
Yeah.
Like you get a big strikeout, like these guys are allowed to show some emotion coming off the mound as well.
Right.
So like,
I think I'm for that too, as long as it's not towards somebody. Which this one,
yeah. I mean, if
this one was like he was like at J-Rod, like he wasn't just celebrating like kind of.
No, it was
by himself.
It was weird. Like he was like punctuating it right at him. Like it was.
So let me ask you a question.
Strange.
When batters have these just like Emmy nominee bat flips, you don't think that's towards the pitcher?
If he's staring down the pitcher when he bat flips, yes. If he's not, if he's just watching the ball and he bat flips, I don't think it's necessarily a personal attack on a pitcher. I think there's a difference.
Okay.
Fair
enough.
Well, and I think to make it equivalent, what he did was he was kind of celebrating as he was moving towards J-Rod. That would have been like the batter hitting a home run, walking towards the mound, flipping the bat, and then going to first base, because he was like coming at him with the kind of with his celebration. So it was just weird. It was the whole situation was weird.
I mean, I get what you're saying. You're still showing up the pitcher when you bat flip, but if you're not like putting it in his face, like directly making eye contact with him and flipping it, then I think that's the difference. I have no problem with celebrating a big moment, a big strikeout, anything like that.
For the record, nor do I. But
right.
I don't, to me, like I think the only thing that really crosses a line is if you look at a guy and if he did say like some type of slur like that, and that's Absolutely. Over the line. You can't have that. But like to me, anything short of that is fair game. I mean, that's anything's fair game, dude. Like this is an emotional game. These guys are alpha dogs, athletes. Like you don't get to be that level without being like a type A dog.
No,
right? Like they have emotion flowing through their body. These are big moments. They get paid millions of dollars to perform in front of millions of people. Like you strike a guy out in a moment like that, or you hit a big home run. Like, I don't care if you lock eyes. I don't care if you blow kisses at him. I don't care about any of that. Right. Yeah. Like just don't cross the line and say something like,
right. Yeah.
Like that. Like don't make slurs.
Right.
But anything short of that, like I don't care. I love all of it.
Yeah. I'm with you. All right. This is our weekly Angel Hernandez diss. Bryce Harper absolutely works this at bat. I mean, it's a 3-2 count. He is battling his ass off.
It was a masterclass.
I mean, great at bat. He takes a tough slider down and in. He checks his swing.
Easily checked.
Yeah, not even close.
Checked. Not even remotely. To the point where Bryce dropped the bat, started taking off his shin pad, and he hears the crowd's reaction, and he looks up, and Angel Hernandez is ringing him up. And he goes out, rightfully so, and literally you can read his lips. He's like, "You are the worst umpire in the league. It's not even close. Like, why are you even out here?" And then he goes to the stands, throws his helmet. A kid got it. Bryce signed it. I think that part's awesome.
Bryce is the man, dude. Bryce Harper is very quickly over the past couple of years becoming my favorite athlete, not just baseball player. Like, I love everything about him. I love his swagger on the field. I love his performances on the field. I love how open he is in press conferences with the media, whether he's sad, angry, happy, like whatever. And everybody that he's been teammates with, you don't hear a bad word about him.
Right.
He is the greatest teammate.
It's like he got to Philly.
You can thank Jonathan Papelbon for that after he choked him in the dugout.
Right.
Fair.
But it's almost like Bryce got to Philly and was finally like, I can just be me. Like he's been totally, he grew the hair out. He's become a lot more vocal. Like he's been a different guy since getting to Philly.
Yeah. I mean, that press conference after the game, I mean, he calls Angel Hernandez out directly. And rightfully so. He goes, Angel is in the middle of all of these bad calls. He's like, it's week after week after week after week. I'm probably going to get fined for saying this. He's like, but something
but
needs to be done.
But he didn't get fined for what he said. He gets fined for throwing the helmet, which shows that MLB realized he was right.
Yeah. I mean, he and I something has to be done with Angel Hernandez.
Did you
Something.
guys see the umpire auditor report?
No.
So Sports Illustrated did a story because there's this group called Umpire Auditor. They actually review all the umpires. They actually tracked missed calls through all the games this season. Keep in mind, Angel Hernandez literally worked 10 games this season because of a back injury. He had 161 bad calls in 10 games. And umpire auditors, so they did the full audit, came with all the bad calls, and then on Twitter, they actually did a full highlight reel of all of his blunders this year. They're so bad. The dude umpired 10 games and blew 161 calls.
And for those keeping it home, that's 16 per game.
That's bad. Like that's
16.
not good. Right.
And you times that by what? 162?
Yeah, if he did a full season, how many bad calls is that? Mind numbing.
I can't do math. I don't know, but that is a lot of bad calls.
Here's my thing with it's way too many.
Here's my thing with Angel too. It's like we don't need to beat the dead horse with how bad he is. On the Bryce Harper one, this specific instance, he rings him up. I mean, I'm sure that like the ego in him thinks that he got the call right. But this is what he does. He makes a call, and then he stares the guy down, like waiting for the argument.
Right. He wants it.
He wants it. Like he almost seeks it out every time, and then he gets to be, the tough guy that tosses a guy out. It's like, now granted, you had said, Nick, rightfully so. He had every right to be pissed. You can't go running down the third base line, screaming at an umpire though. Like you can't do that because that's when he got tossed, when he started coming down the third base line.
Right.
But if Angel Hernandez simply makes the call, turns his back, does a little walk around third base, by the time Bryce is continuing to chirp, someone's already out there in front of him diffusing the situation.
Yep,
but not 100%. Angel Hernandez.
Nope.
Not Angel Hernandez.
Nope.
He's staring at him. He's inviting him to come down. And then the minute he comes down, he throws him. And it's like, dude, we're not here. I didn't tune into this game to watch you umpire third base. That's not why I turned this on. Like I want to watch the best players in the world play baseball in meaningful baseball games, not get thrown out in the third inning or whatever inning it was.
Yeah,
nobody came to see you.
Absolutely,
it's like, dude, luckily I don't think he's going to be in any postseason games. I don't think he qualifies. So luckily we're not going to see him in the postseason. But I swear, if I turned on tomorrow afternoon, getting home from school, and I turned the game on and he's there, I'm rolling my eyes. Fuck, it's going to be the Angel show. It's always the Angel show.
Something has to be done about it. I mean, I know the umpires have a union or whatever that crap is, but something needs to be done about him specifically. Look, umpires are going to have off games. They're human. Like, it happens. But this guy is consistently looking for a bad game. Like, it's almost like he's doing it on purpose.
His off games are when he has 4 missed calls. Those are his off games.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is nuts.
I almost feel, and I said this to you guys a couple weeks ago, I almost feel like he intentionally blows these calls because he's so pissed at Major League Baseball because he lost his suit about discrimination, and it feels like he's been treated poorly, and he's always been this victim. I almost feel like he does it because he just doesn't care. He's almost like daring MLB, do something about it. Watch me. Do something about it. You don't like me, get rid of me. Because they can't. It's almost like it's a game to him. Because when he made that call, and as you said, Sean, he basically almost egged Bryce Harper on to come talk to him. Because he knew exactly what he was doing. He blew it, I think, on purpose.
He does it, and he's not the only one from behind the plate. And I guess I know we're getting on an umpire soapbox here. But there are plenty of umpires that when they're home plate umpires, right now, Joey Votto is an example. Right? Joey Votto got thrown out of potentially his last game as a Cincinnati Red from chirping from the dugout. Right? Yeah. Now, at a certain point, there's a line, and when players cross the line, they're going to get thrown out. And Joey Votto came and made a very seemingly, what's the word I'm looking for? A seemingly genuine apology. Yeah, it seemed that way, certainly. And he had said, I can't be chirping the umpires. I said things that I shouldn't have said, and I deserve to get thrown out. I apologize, yada, yada. You guys saw the apology. But there are so many games that we watch, and umpires are looking for it. They're looking over there.
Yeah.
And it's just let it go. Let the guys get their frustration out, and then they're done. But the more you look over, it's like, you know,
You're looking for it.
the more you look over and egg them on to say more, they're going to say more. And then all of a sudden, now you're offended. It's like you're inviting them to say the stuff. I'm not saying you have to let everything go, because there is a line. And when you cross the line, you have to get thrown out. Like that's part of it. But stop looking for it.
Yeah, agree.
And Angel Hernandez, to me, leads the charge of looking for it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he gets off on it. He gets off on looking for these arguments and then throwing guys out. And then he gets to be the big bad guy that gets the boos from the crowd or whatever the fuck. But it's like, it's just so frustrating because it's the Angel show.
Yep.
Every time he umpires a game, it's the Angel Hernandez show.
He's in the middle of something, and you're talking about him, and that's literally, it's every friggin' time. The guy literally umpired 10 games this year, and how many times have we talked about a situation in a game he was in? He umpired 10 freaking games. That's it.
He's the most talked about umpire by far that we talk about by far.
Absolutely.
And he only umpired 10 games. Good God.
But
I mean, dude, I was going back. I mean, because of that, I kind of went through the greatest hits for Angel. I mean, that Schwarber one when he was behind the plate, and Schwarber lost his way.
That was amazing.
I mean,
rightfully so.
we're
Again,
talking
there
about-
for Schwarber to lose his mind, because it was.
And Kyle Schwarber is not necessarily known for being like the league's biggest hothead either.
No, he's not. He's a pretty
And
mellow
he
dude.
lost it.
Yeah.
And that's a guy that
mean,
knows
like
the
I said,
strike
he
zone
should've.
really
That
friggin'
was-
well, too.
I mean, if you were watching on TV, that ball wouldn't have even been on the TV screen. I mean, that wasn't even close.
No.
Not in the neighborhood.
Yeah,
Not
the
even close.
K zone
So it's
flashed and like was a pitch thrown? Like
It was
It's like-
crazy.
man, I mean, I love watching players that don't normally melt down.
it's so good.
I think it's awesome. But I mean, when Schwarber lost it, dude, that helmet spiked
Well,
higher than a Gronk spike, dude, in the end zone. Like,
But
that,
it wasn't even the spiking too. He was like defending both teams. He's like,
Yeah,
"You've sucked
he's
for
pointing to
us,
both
you've sucked
sides."
for them.
Yeah. He was so animated. He was
good.
his hands are flailing. He's pointing to both dugouts, and like he
I
was
mean,
so animated.
so good.
Outside of the Wally Backman, that's one of my favorite meltdowns because
Yeah.
it was just so genuine and raw.
Yeah.
Like he just couldn't hold it in
Lost it.
anymore.
Yeah, it's so
And
awesome.
that was, there was no fuse. Like you saw it, and his face just dropped, and that was it. He lost it.
Man, so good.
Like a bomb going off.
All right, we'll take a break from news for a little bit, and we'll throw in a couple trivia questions here. These are questions about end of season awards. So these are, I believe, on the easier side. So let's see what you guys know. First question: who has the most Cy Young awards and how many?
Most Cy Young awards.
Cy Young.
No,
Is it Clemens with 7?
it is Clemens with
Yeah,
7.
Clemens.
Nice job, Sean. Yes, Clemens with 7. All right,
You know what's funny? So Clemens has 7 Cy Youngs, no hitters.
I know
Nolan Ryan has 7 no hitters, but no Cy Youngs.
it's
Weird.
bonkers. Writers, man, writers. All right, next question: who has the most MVP awards and how many?
Oh,
Ooh.
it's got to be Barry
Yeah,
Bonds with 5.
Bonds, right?
It's Bonds, but he has more than 5.
4. Oh, 7.
7. He also
7,
has
really?
7.
Wow.
7 MVP awards. Yep. Crazy. All right. This one is a combo of the two. How many players have won both the Cy Young and MVP awards in the same year? So I'm just looking for number of pitchers that have done it in MLB history.
3.
I know Verlander's done it.
Yep. It's higher than 3.
Fuck it, 7.
Higher than 7.
We're just gonna go with 7. 10.
I mean,
It
it's
is
been the answer
10.
for the first 2.
10
Man,
pitchers
wow.
have done it. But
Do you have the names? Do you have the list?
I had the list pulled up. I took it down. But I can
I'll
pull
look
it back
real
up.
quick. Hold on.
Hang on.
I got you.
This is a bonus. Who is the latest to become on that list? So who was the 10th to do it? Who was the latest one to win MVP and Cy Young?
Oh, it wasn't that long ago either.
Nope.
Was it R.A. Dickey?
No.
No, it was
It wasn't. What year did Verlander do it? It wasn't Verlander, right?
2011 was Verlander. It wasn't Verlander. There's
it was
one after.
Kershaw.
It was Clayton Kershaw in 2014.
Yeah, he did it like a couple years after.
So here's the list: Don Newcomb for the Brooklyn Dodgers, Sandy Koufax for the Los Angeles Dodgers. We got Denny McLain for the Tigers.
Oh yeah, the 30-win season, right?
Sure. It's in 68. Yeah, 31 season. Yep. Bob Gibson for the Cardinals. I mean, that dude was ridiculous that year. It's the reason the mound was lower.
So he broke baseball that year.
Yep. Raleigh Fingers for the Brewers in 81. Willie Hernandez for the Tigers again in 84. Man, Tigers put out some pitches.
Yeah, they were good ones one day.
Yep. Clemens in 86.
Dodgers have at least 3.
Yeah. Yeah. Clemens in 86. Eckersley with the Athletics in 92.
Oh, yeah.
Verlander with the Tigers in 2011, and then Clayton Kershaw with the Dodgers in 2014. And that was in chronological order. So, yeah, crazy. So 10 pitchers have won the Cy Young and MVP in the same season. So,
pretty impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. So that kind of brings us to the rounding third question that I put out there this week. I put out, who are your favorites for the AL and NL Cy Young Award this year? I mean, I think the last week of the season kind of iced it for these two. I think it's Blake Snell and Garrett Cole. I think their last starts kind of put it on ice.
Yeah, probably.
But, I mean, you got Strider who had 200 Ks and –
Strider was my pick right out of the gate. I thought he would be the guy, and his stats are insane. But Blake Snell had a ridiculous season.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, for a team that was super kind of under disappointing and underperformed. I mean, it wasn't on him. He had his guy.
Yeah,
it wasn't on him. I thought Justin Steele had a really good year too. I mean, it sucks with the way the Cubs kind of, with the way the Cubs faltered down the stretch.
Yeah.
Certainly wasn't all on him, but it's a tough look to be in the position you're in. And then the Cubs lose, what was it, 4 straight or 5 straight or whatever it was.
A tough finish.
So I think it's got to be those two. Those two have got to be probably the only ones right now with minus money to win it, right?
Yeah.
Snell and Garrett Cole probably.
Yeah, Garrett Cole's minus 1,700. Blake Snell's minus 900.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where, Garrett Cole has consistently been good in the regular season, and he was great. I mean, he was the only guy they could count on all friggin' season. I hate giving the Cy Young A to him because I don't like him, but B to a pitcher that's on a team that's just so bad. I mean, Cy Young's not about value; it's about performance. And
he had
right. It's not the MVP.
Yeah, a .98 WHIP. I mean,
he had a stupid good season.
And think about how much better it would be if he never had to face the Red Sox, because it's like the Red Sox just beat him up.
I know the only team that hits
every time he faces the Red Sox, they beat him up.
So we had some comments on that. Nick Fanning actually has posted a picture of Kermit the Frog holding an Oscar and saying actual photo of Garrett Cole accepting the Cy Young Award.
I love the Kermit the Frog.
Yeah. Jim Britt says Cole and Snell. And then, Nick Fanning actually did say in his heart he wanted, like you said, Harrison, Spencer Strider, but he thinks it's going to be Cole and Snell. I mean, I don't think it's even close anymore. That's what Henry LaRose said. It's got to be Cole and Snell. There's really nobody else to really even kind of, in the AL at least, there's no one to battle. It was McClanahan, but then he goes on the shelf and loses all bets there.
And Sonny Gray had a good run for it for a little while.
Right.
But for what Garrett Cole did start to finish in the season, that's his award.
Absolutely. I think Strider will get a few votes, but I think
as he should. I mean, the dude finished 20-5 with a 3.86 and 281 Ks.
Yeah. 20-game winner. I mean,
Blake Snell was 14-9, 2.25 ERA, 234 Ks. I mean, a great season, but when you look at the numbers, they just don't jump off the page as the guy that has 281 Ks in 120 games.
I mean, the 2.25 ERA for me kind of does it. Honestly,
It's the only thing he's got.
And this, I mean,
But
200 and something. Well, how many strikeouts? 200 and
234 versus 281.
Okay, so 50
234
more.
is nothing to sneeze
Oh
at.
no,
absolutely not.
No, I mean Strider's got
how many
got him in every category.
How many innings did he pitch?
Blake Snell pitched 180. Strider pitched 186.
Dang.
So 234 Ks and 180 innings.
Yep.
I mean, that's not, and when we talk about Cy Young, specifically the Cy Young Award, I have such a hard time for guys getting a Cy Young because of wins. Like, that's such a team stat. Like, it 20, and I'm not taking anything away from Strider for 20 wins by any stretch, but it's like he had 20 wins because he's on the best team in baseball by a wide margin.
Yeah. Yep.
He pitched well, and every time he takes the mound, he puts his team in a position to win because he doesn't implode. Even when he doesn't have his best stuff, he battles, he keeps them in it, and that's all well and good. But like 20 wins to me for a Cy Young, it's like it's just an overblown stat for that award.
Yep.
To me, like Cy Young, it's like, how nasty were you? Like, every 5 days when you stepped on the mound, like, how unhittable and how difficult did you make life on the hitters?
Yeah.
That's what the Cy Young Award is. And with that qualification, it's Blake Snell. It's got to be Blake Snell.
Well, Blake Snell was unhittable after the All-Star break. Unhittable.
But follow me for a second. So Blake Snell wins 14 games. Strider wins 20. So Strider's got him there. Blake Snell loses 9. Strider loses 5. He's got him there. Snell's got a 2.25 ERA. Strider's got 3.86. Got him there. They had the same number of starts. Strider pitched 6 more innings. Had 281 versus 234 strikeouts. Had a whip of 1.093 to Blake Snell's 1.189. Strider beat him in every single category there is but ERA. And the only problem is because Strider throws so goddamn hard, he gives up home runs. That's literally the entire difference in their season was the home runs.
But he gives up home runs.
It's literally, he doesn't give up anything but home runs. If you hit Strider, it better be for a home run. Otherwise, you're not scoring on him.
Well, you're not stringing hits together.
No, absolutely not.
About that. Yeah, you're not stringing hits. No, and I'm not saying if Strider wins it, I'm not like, I'm not protesting.
I don't think he's going to win it. He's probably not going to get very many votes. It's just a shame because what the guy did is like, his season is insane.
Yeah.
Right, but I think a 1.5 difference in earned run average. That's not on the cusp. I mean, that is a full 1.5 run difference that Blake Snell was better at.
Especially since the Padres only won 14 games this year.
Yeah. I mean, you put a Blake Snell, you take all those exact same metrics, same strikeout, same innings pitched, same whip, same ERA, same everything. That guy wins over 20 games on that Braves team. There's no doubt about it.
Easy. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I have no doubt the record is significantly better hitting there or pitching there. I mean,
so
yeah, I agree. All right,
but
we got.
He's also in a super pitcher friendly ballpark at Petco. Just saying.
True.
All right, we got some other news to wrap up here before we head out for the week and enjoy some playoff baseball this week. Miguel Cabrera, this last homestand, the Tigers did it right here, man. If you haven't seen it, today they handed out cardstock on all the seats, and they had the PA announcer comes on and has the fans hold it up at the same time. And around the bottom tier, the bottom bowl, it says like Miggy, like Gracias Miggy. And then up top, it says like 5,000, has his number behind home plate, and then has 3,000 hits. It's absolutely incredible. If you haven't seen it, look up that video. I saw it on Instagram. It's absolutely, it's incredible. It's so awesome. And then he had a homestand to like remember too. So like he went out with a bang. He hits an opposite field home run in the last series, and then his parents throw out the first pitch, his whole family. And then he plays first base, goes out by himself, makes an unassisted play in the top of the 8th inning. And AJ Hinch comes out and takes him out of the game with Cabrera's kids. Cabrera's kids came out on the field and took him out of the game with AJ Hinch. I thought it was absolutely incredible to watch the tributes, and rightfully so. A guy that's first ballot Hall of Famer, and
You
just
think?
absolutely
I'm
insane.
kidding. Yeah, no, it was really cool, and I saw. I wasn't certainly watching the game live, but I saw like the clip on Twitter. When it was the home broadcast call for Detroit, and I should have written the guy's name down, but like the play-by-play guy for Detroit, and everyone was like cheering like crazy in the booth when he made that 3U play, and the guy's like everyone's cheering. He's like, the ball will always find you, and that's so true in baseball.
Yep.
Dude, how many times do we see a guy like? I mean, we started with the Red Sox this year, right? Like Kike could not make a ground ball to save his life, and they would just funnel balls to shortstop. It's like the ball always finds you.
Yep.
For good reasons or bad reasons. And you like, if you were at that stadium, there had to have been no doubt in your mind that he was going to get a ground ball. I mean, there's just no doubt. The ball will always find you. And I mean, it wasn't the most difficult of plays, but he made the play, and what a way to go out.
I mean, you can think of so many, right? Like Jeter walk-off single to end his career.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
always find
Cal Ripken Jr. hits a home run in his last All-Star game. I mean, there's just so many instances where it's like that. It's so incredible. Baseball, man. That's why it's so amazing. Like baseball is the best sport out there, and there's no debate about it.
And there's nothing more fitting than Miguel Cabrera hitting an opposite field home run in his final homestand.
Yeah,
like that's the most quintessential thing that guy did.
And not to mention
opposite field home run in a ballpark that I despise because it's just outrageous.
It's massive.
There is no need for a baseball park to be that big.
Right. You're not in Colorado. You're in freaking Detroit with the smog, dude. You don't need it to be that
big.
Dude,
it's crazy. Every time there's like a rocket, like 106 exit velo, like balls on a line. It's like 3 steps short of the warning track. Like that makes no sense. Yeah. I hate that ballpark.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah.
And this guy goes opposite field. And how many Oppo home runs did he hit in that ballpark?
So many.
It's like he didn't just run into a couple. I mean, he lived off like Oppo gap home runs.
I mean, the dude may have had 600 career home runs if he'd played somewhere else.
There's no doubt.
Whole career in Florida.
Oh my God, yeah.
Whole career in Florida, no question.
But yeah, absolutely incredible. It was really cool. I already talked about that. So speaking of standing ovations, Tito Francona gets a standing ovation from the Cleveland crowd. In typical Tito fashion, he comes out, waves his hat, goes right back in the dugout, and he's like, "All right, guys, like let's get going." He's like going over, trying to push.
He's clapping his hands, saying, "Play ball."
Right, and then they make him come out again, and he stands out there and savors the moment. But I mean, this is another guy I no doubt is going to the Hall of Fame for me. 1,950 wins. That's 13th all time. 2-time World Series champ. 3 times Manager of the Year. I was kind of shocked that he was only a 3-time Manager of the Year, but yeah, I mean, it was.
I think.
Go
ahead. Sorry, Nick. No, go finish.
I forgot my thought, to be completely honest, but
I'm sorry. That's my fault. I was just going to jump in. You said you couldn't believe he was only 3-time. I think Francona was almost a victim of his own success. Team, when he was manager, there was so much expected of his teams year in and year out. Yeah. I mean, it's Bill Belichick back in the day. It's John Harbaugh with the Ravens. It's all these coach Mike Babcock in Detroit. It's they could win it every year. The teams they show up, they have a target on their backs every year. And it doesn't matter. They still win divisions. They still make deep playoff runs. They still win championships, if not make it to the championship game or series. It's he probably should have won more than 3.
Yeah.
But it's almost we expect it from a Francona manager team. It's that doesn't take away how impressive it is. I mean, think about the generations of baseball this guy managed through.
Yeah.
How the game has changed from when he started managing to when he took a team to the ALCS last year.
Right.
Last year, a team that had no power. They were significantly depleted in the department of hitting home runs and keeping up with the rest of the league when it comes to
half of them couldn't even buy a beer.
And they made it to the ALCS.
And we're in position to take charge of that series.
it's nuts, man. I mean, it's absolutely nuts how this guy just like, oh, ho hum, deep playoff run, like crazy.
Yeah, and his coaching tree is insane. Like that guy's impact will live on for a long time. It's a shame, the Tigers ended up finishing in second place in that division as the Guardians kind of fell away. That they had some pieces traded off, and I mentioned that before. But I mean, even to the final day, Terry was still managing with a smile on his face, keeping the kids moving. He's left that organization in a good spot. I'll be curious who they pick to replace him because that's a very young team for somebody to take over.
Yeah.
And it's going to need an experienced, steady hand.
Right. I know we've had Alex Cora for a few years in Boston, but like every time the camera pans to the dugout, I still expect to see Tito in the dugout. Like it's just what I grew up with. I grew up with him, and it's just, I mean, it's awesome. It was
Tito with the big wad in his mouth saying something to Brad Mills, and I'm like, something's about to happen. Something good's about to happen.
Absolutely.
Like him and Brad together, something good's about to happen.
God. So
you're scheming something up.
Right. But so I mean, it was a pleasure watching him manage and the teams that he got to manage, and like you said, the coaching tree is beyond impressive. I mean,
and it's only going to grow. There's going to be more former players that get into managing, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah. All right. Couple extensions here. The Rockies give Charlie Blackmon a 1-year, $13 million extension for next year. So, I mean, doesn't really move the needle because it's the Rockies. But
they still stink.
I love Charlie Blackmon. I always have.
I love that caveman. Yeah, I do too.
I'm glad he's staying in Colorado. I don't think I can picture him in a different uniform.
I kind of forget about him at times because he's just like out there in purgatory.
Yeah, but I mean, he's putting together a good career out there, man. And
he is, and he's what?
He looks like he'd give you. He looks like he'd give you a great deal on your car repair, and then like he just goes out there and just like mashes baseballs. Like he's so underrated.
Yeah, he literally changes your oil in the morning, and then you see him at the ballpark. You're like, wait, what?
Yeah, the guy shows up, and those aren't black batting gloves on his hand. It's oil stains.
Yeah, two for 4 with an RBI double.
Yeah,
like, oh,
he'll be 38 next year.
Yeah, I mean, 8 home runs, 279 batting average, 40 RBIs. So he knocked in all of the Rockies' runs this year. Yeah, I mean,
he only played 96 games. I mean, he missed a
good chunk,
almost half the season.
Yeah, I mean, those are decent stats for him. I mean,
not bad. I mean, he's not the same player he was, but he's still he's important to that organization
for sure. Absolutely. Saw a report that Hector Gomez reports that the Padres are going to offer Juan Soto a quote unquote very good extension offer.
Yeah. Ask the Nationals how very good worked out.
Yeah. I don't know what very good means, but I mean, whatever. Again, it's the Padres, so I don't really
talk to me when they. I mean, it's the reports that they're going to do something. Like whatever, man. Just do it. Talk to me when you do it.
Yeah. Fair. Okay, moving on.
Well, and what's interesting is
Juan
Soto.
You. I'm just saying, like it's a weird report to release.
It is.
Like it's a weird. I'm not saying you, Nick. I'm saying it's a weird report for like the Padres to tell a reporter, "Oh no, we're going to do that. Make sure you release that." It's like,
okay,
just do it. Then.
Right.
Yeah, right.
And then offer it.
Yeah,
right.
Better yet, actually do it so we can report on what actually happened. But interestingly enough, I mean, Soto played 162 games this year, ended up hitting 275, 35, and 109, walked 132 times. He ended up having a really good season after having what was really kind of a mediocre season through about the end of July. He had a hell of a strong second half, and that team finished at 82 and 80 after the abysmal record they carried. In September, I don't think they lost in September. And that whole team was
the best team in baseball in that month.
Whole team was on fire.
Mm-hmm.
It took them apparently, 5 or 6 months to get it figured out. But
if they start that streak a week earlier, we might be talking about the Padres making a push for the playoffs, if not in it.
Yeah, doesn't exactly go to my Bob Melvin point because they did finish real strong.
They missed the playoffs by 2 games after the abysmal. Really, it was April, May, June, July. I mean, 4 of the 6 months were atrocious. August was better, and September was lights out.
Insane. So I'm going to end with my stuff. I know sometimes Harrison and Sean have stuff at the end, but a couple of news out of Orioles camp here. Felix Bautista is to have Tommy John. So he is most likely done for all of next year, and we'll see him in 2025. I know when the 3 of us went to Camden Yards and got to see him pitch, man, that dude is something else. First of all, he's an absolute beast. Like he's standing on the
He's
mound, and you're
huge.
like, what? The three of us wide, the three of us tall, and
Oh
he's
my God, he's huge.
so big, and he's just throwing absolute seeds past guys. Like, I mean, it was impressive to watch. You could hear the baseball go through the air. It was, oh man, it was awesome. So that's tough break for the Orioles, but I mean, they got Yanier Cano there, and he's just as nasty.
He's all right.
And then finally, Baltimore extends the Orioles lease by 30 years. So 30-year lease. So the Orioles are staying. I know there was reports, was it the beginning of this year? I think the owners were having some squabbles and something like that, and they were threatening to move the team out of Baltimore. But they did just renew the lease for 30 years. So
yeah, I couldn't picture baseball like without the city of Baltimore.
No, I can't either.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm glad they were able to work that out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it'd be weird to not to be blacked out of 3 markets, you know?
Well, I just, there's plenty of cities out there where, like, if they leave Tampa, like, whatever. Like, I don't think Tampa Bay, and I don't think baseball, right? Like, Baltimore, you almost do.
Right.
Like, the whole atmosphere down there, the stadium right in the Inner Harbor. I mean, the team has such history.
Babe Ruth's birthplace.
Like, with that city. Yeah, Babe Ruth's birthplace, yeah. It's just, I'm glad they were able to work it out, and they're staying there for a while.
Yeah. Agree. So, yeah, a lot of news this week, so that's what I have. Do you guys have anything else to add?
So just real quick, players of the week this week, you had Justin Verlander, who was 2-0 with a .69 ERA, 13 Ks, and a 116 batting average against. Those are pretty good numbers down the stretch.
The Mets could have used a guy like that.
Yeah, yeah. The Rangers too. They thought they traded for him, but they didn't end up getting him. And then in the NL, it was Nolan Jones. He was 12 for 28, 2 home runs, 7 RBIs, 1.163 OPS. Pretty good week for him too. And then lastly, so there's this graphic posted earlier about most recent World Series title. So in the playoffs this year, you have 3 teams with an NA for most recent World Series title: Brewers, Rangers, Rays. So you got 3 teams still chasing that elusive first title.
First World Series. And the Rangers should have had it, except for Mr. David Freese.
Yeah.
David Freese took that away from them in a heartbeat.
And then the longest drought of a team that has won is the Orioles, 1983. The Orioles have not won a World Series in my lifetime.
Dang. Crazy. So,
all right, let's see a record. I'd like to see one of those fall.
Yeah,
absolutely. I would too.
If I had to, if I don't care if Tampa wins. So, like, if it's Tampa, But if it's any one of the other 3, then let's do it.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Anything else before we get going?
That's it.
All right. Wild card week. I know I'll be camped out in front of the TV tomorrow. I feel a cold coming on. Yeah. I think I might be out sick tomorrow.
Really bad case of nothingitis.
Yeah. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm excited to see what happens and pans out here. But let's go Snakes. I'm on the Snakes train. So let's go. Get it done.
I just want to see a good postseason. Give us some good series, some great endings. Don't give me a bunch of blowouts and one-sided games. Let's see some good baseball.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, Tuesday, Wednesday should be fun, man. Maybe 4 games on Tuesday, 4 games on Wednesday, and then I'm sure we'll have at least 1 or 2 games on Thursday. But yeah, it's gonna be a fun week.
Love it.
Absolutely. All right. So we will be back next Monday, but before you go, please make sure you like, subscribe. You can share our podcast. You can also listen on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. You can share our reels, like our reels, comment on our reels. We've been putting out a bunch lately, so keep them coming. Thanks for the support. We've gotten a whole bunch of new followers too, so we really appreciate the support. So keep that rolling in. And we will see you guys next Monday at 8. Most likely there'll be some baseball on next Monday. So we'll be watching some baseball and doing the show. So come in, stop by, join the chat with us. We put it right on the screen here, and you can interact with us while the game's going on and while we discuss some baseball. So having said that, we'll see you next week at 8 p.m.